Hey, so remember literally yesterday when I said I had a video where I talked about the Mary Magdalene speedrun? Well, guess who has a video where I talk about this very same Tumble speedrun? What can I say? This pup likes to talk about the speedrun she likes a lot. I talk all about a lot of things in this video that I don't talk about there. Feel free to check that video out when you're done with this one. Trust me, I never stop you. Think of it like this. One view of a puppy video is like one head pat for puppy. I've definitely tried selling videos as head pats in the past, but dang it, I don't care. I still want head pats. Speaking of things I'd like, you know it's coming. If you could give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, I would super appreciate it. Not only does it help me as a creator a lot, it supports me in my cause to defeat my arch nemesis, Captain Stitch. We've been through a lot this month. Deputy Pup, Clicker Claire, Bored, Sheriff Sheba, you name it. But one force has withstood the onslaught, Captain Stitch. Please, if you love puppies, you'll help me in my just cause to defeat the evil. Thank you. Also, of course, super special thanks to my head-patting, fluffle fan Puptrons on Patreon and Mempups on YouTube, Freakish Uproar, Lydia Scribe, and Vilafar. I love you all. I ask this question a lot of times, and I hear a surprising amount of answers, so today's puppy question of the day. Leave your answer in the comments, get it right, and I'll reply to the comment. Get it wrong, and who am I kidding? I'm gonna reply anyway. Question! Can you even speedrun Kirby Tilt and Tumble? You know what, with the gyro controls and the gyro controls, is it even possible? And the answer I'd like to think is obvious is yes. Yes, it is. The gyro certainly makes it harder, but given the game is so well designed around having gyro, you'd be surprised at how many effective and super cool speedrunning tricks exist. This game is legit. But how would you even capture footage of the game for a speedrun? Control with one hand, hold a webcam in the other? Honestly? It sounds kinda hype. But no, that's not what people did. Back in the day, people would use the Game Boy player and control the game with their GameCube as a controller. It looks really funny, and one of the runners at K-Star this year, a yearly Kirby speedrunning relay race, always a highlight to talk about that, actually did use this combo, even though the game is available on Switch now. And yes, for the record, the way that most people, myself included, will record the game nowadays is through the Switch. It's just so much more convenient, and the controls work great. A definite improvement over just playing it on a Game Boy, if only having an actual screen with brightness as a reason. You know, that's a pretty big plus. As far as how movement goes for the speedrun, well, it's about what you'd expect. Unless the game specifically has you do otherwise, you never want to stop moving forward. Kirby's movement speed is, thankfully, fairly static. You don't constantly have to flick the Game Boy or spin it in a circle or something to keep Kirby moving fast. That'd be exhausting. And coming from a boundless source of energy like a puppy, you know that's saying a lot. It's mostly frustrating when trying to hit buttons to open doors in the castle levels, but these are thankfully very simple and easy until World 8. That one, but we'll get to that later. Of course, if you watch my other video, or you're just looking at the footage, you know what Kirby's best tool in this game is. It's jumping. It sounds weird, and having to flick the Game Boy might sound kind of annoying, but not only do you get used to that very fast, but trust me, it is easier to describe what jumping can't do compared to what it can. It saves time in the goal game, it takes out enemies on screen, it helps you traverse through water, it's mandatory for progression, it's even used for the final boss. And about the only thing that doesn't get done by jumping is shorten the timer for the balloon power-up. Although you need to jump in order to get the balloon power-up to begin with, so like, really, how can you complain? So have I already described the speedrun to you wonderful, wonderful people? Am I the most efficient puppy in the world? Well, no. Well, I mean, yes to that second part. But there is one very important distinction here that I have to point out. We're talking any percent today. Duh, of course. But specifically, we're talking about any percent and not any percent no skips. Yep, another game with level skips, like Rainbow Curse. It's way less funny, but it still gets a good chuckle out of me. So listen, in World 3, at the very start, if you hop over this pool of water, which is harder than it looks since you need to jump, of course, into the water and keep repeatedly jumping, of course, to avoid drowning, you will eventually get to Wispy, who's been hiding out on us this whole time. Instead of being a weak boss fight, he grants you a warp star that skips you to World 6. Then, in World 6, after you avoid the landmines, no context, he'll grant you a warp star that skips you to World 8. Basically, you only have to play 3.5 worlds worth of levels instead of 8. Not even half. That honestly sounds kind of broken. And it is. I know I just said, again, yesterday, that Rainbow Curse was the funnier speedrun, and it is, like I said today, but Tilt and Tumble ranks kinda high up there on that list. Now, we just talked about the skips, I already talked about jumping, but here's another funny for the funnies. If you're able to clear a level quickly enough, the game will actually take less time to save and load the next level. It is entirely dependent on how much time you have left, and is more lenient on the Japanese version, but the perks of playing Japanese over US Tilt and Tumble, frankly, that's its own video. So literally, the game rewards you for getting good. You can even see Kirby on the little silly warp star going way faster compared to not faster for when you clear a level quickly versus not clearing it quickly. I'm not sure of the exact science here for how this works on a programming point, but what matters to me is that the game loading and saving faster if you play quick is hilarious. So, like, what is this? It's an easy, funny speedrun just like Rainbow Curse. Again, not really, because as simple as the first 2 worlds are, you still need to get through World 8. I never do this. I think for videos it can look a bit unprofessional. The cropping is gonna look like an absolute nightmare. I'm not looking forward to that. But to showcase how brutal World 8 is, or at least can get, when, you know, you're recording at midnight and you're exhausted and you forget the strats that make it easier, but you gotta get the video out so you don't have a choice, I am showing me using the Switch's rewind function. Without it, I would be able to do it if I was more awake, but given the circumstances, I felt it was necessary because it is tough. On the bright side, remember those strats that I mentioned earlier? They're really helpful, especially when you get to 8-4. Hey, I told you we'd get back to this. And instead of dealing with this nightmare of a puzzle, you can just jump, of course, 3 times and gain the invincibility needed to knock away these robot guards. Oh, did I not mention that jumping makes you completely invincible? What, did you think there were things jumping in this game couldn't do? Of course, keep in mind that by itself, the candy doesn't actually last long enough. You need to jump, of course, to make it last longer. Listen, you guys, the script literally writes itself with how good jumping is in this game, I swear. A simple and fun speedrun that gets difficult towards the end and can be finished in about 20 to 60 minutes, depending on your efficiency with the gyro. Well, the world record is around 14 minutes, but we're talking about on average here, okay? My point is, this category is super fun, super simple to pick up and play, and doesn't require very complex routing. You definitely want to play on the Japanese version if you're gunning for a world record, but if you're just having fun, you can easily pick up any version of the game and just have fun, beating a game that takes some people several days in under an hour. Maybe under a half hour even, who knows? The world is your oyster! Or, the world is your tilt! You're free to tilt the world? Oh god, that's a scientific disaster right there. But unfortunately, there is one thing holding the run back. It's not the simplicity, it's not the length, it's certainly not the controls. Yeah, they take getting used to, but I defend these. I think of any game I've ever played, these have some of the best gyro controls ever. No, I'm sure you're getting tired of hearing me complain about this, but my problem is RNG. Again. Thankfully, the RNG only impacts a couple of levels, and not even a lot of them. When you come across rooms that have red and blue doors, you need to jump, of course, to roll the die. If it rolls blue, you go blue. Rolls red, you go red. I did find out when recording for this video that you can roll gray, which just means that you need to re-roll again. To be fair, aside from gray, like I said, it's a matter of minor time loss and difficulty. If you're prepared for it and are good at both sides, it really wouldn't impact very much at all, aside from a world record run. So honestly, even though they're there, it's not that bad. It's honestly almost close to being good, which I never thought I'd say. Yeah, except for rolling gray. That makes Puppy angry. And now it's time for Fluffo Fans. It's Claire Fluffo's speedrunning tip of the day. Yay! For Tilt and Tumble, the number one bit of advice I could give would obviously be in regards to Gyro. The gyro controls here, I stand by this, are really good, but when you can't stop yourself to prepare for the treachery that the game throws at you, yeah, it could be a bit tricky. The good news is, if you're not playing on a Game Boy, without a backlit screen, you can actually see what you're doing while playing. And if the controls aren't cooperating before a tricky part of the game, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with taking a second to get the controls how you feel like they should be. I would also heavily recommend doing hand and arm stretches before playing the game. This is generally good gaming advice, I think, not just Tilt and Tumble speedrunning, but for this game especially, oh boy, does it help. This obviously didn't impact the rankings or my enjoyment of the game at all, but ranking Tilt and Tumble so high is definitely a risky move as far as videos are concerned. Sad to say, Tilt and Tumble is far from the most well-liked game in the series, and unlike, say, Triple Deluxe or Return to Dreamland or whatever, not a lot of people would probably agree with me placing this so high on any kind of list, not to mention a speedrunning one. But I ranked this game highly in the past, and I won't stop. I love Tilt and Tumble, I love the music, I love the speedrun, and I love all of you, despite what I may have potentially implied. Yay! Because I love you all so much, I'm gonna go back to making these videos. So, until I see you again, I have been Claire. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you around. Bye-bye!